Let's start off with the indie band Weezer and their album Pacific Daydream.
Oh boy.
They are an alternative rock band, which you probably already know this, so I don't know why I'm preaching this. And they just released their 11th album, and it's only been a year since they released a last album. And it was
always a sign of good work, rushing a new album to market.
It was yet another self-titled record, but it's known as the White Album. Apparently, it's not as good as the Beatles' White Album, but not as bad. We reviewed that album in a previous podcast. If you want to hear it, go back and check it out. And so original singer, guitarist River Cuomo wanted this album to be poppy, yet darker with the mature topics. Basically, he wanted to be opposite the White Album, and it was going to be called the Black Album. However, when they began writing music, the songs sounded more like Beach Boys and The Clash. So they pushed back the plans for the Black Album and started focusing on the new collection of songs they were doing, which is going to be one of my criticisms. I'm going to spoil it for you guys right now. I'm going to say I have a problem with that.
What, that they didn't re-record Metallica's Black Album in its entirety?
Yeah. One thing you can count on from Weezer is producing some catchy pop tunes, I will say. The opening track, which is called Mexican Fender, has blaring upbeat power chords mixed with adorable vocal harmonies about meeting a female musician and other summer love elements in the song as well. While later in the album, the song Sweet Mary is an acoustic guitar-driven tune about a girl River is admiring from afar. Or it's
he's Harvey Weinsteining it.
He's currently involved with her. I don't know. The songs when Weezer writes about women are are different, and it's not fitting, and him not fitting in is so often the message that he writes it's kind of lost on me, like, because it's the same topics every time. But I must say I was very impressed with the diversity of some of the tracks in this album here. Did you notice that, Drew? Like, this album was not so indie pop rock away. There was some like
I didn't get diversity at all on
Okay.
this album.
There's a song on here, I will tell you. There are a couple of diverse songs. He didn't notice it. The song called Feels Like Summer continues like the summer themes, of course. But it's a more electro-pop song with like heavy bass beats. And it's got some guitars in the background. It's not like blaring in your ear. The song Happy Hour is like also a dance song with like a funky like R&B vibe, and River like uses several random references to like Ponce Leon and to like Stevie Ray Vaughan to like Monty Python. He's like just referencing all of them in the first
Fantastic.
verse. Yeah.
Just saying words that sound alike.
Yeah. And the song, it has like a more like layered production and a slower tempo than usual Weezer songs. But it does work for me musically. Now, lyrically, I think we're on the same page, Drew. Like, he's just saying random
Yeah.
So, on that song anyway. So, I really don't like the lyrics in this album. Like, what do you have to say? I don't want to.
I didn't really understand the lyrics. I felt like the lyrics were inconsequential.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to find out the reason why. I actually wrote down why that is in a second.
I think I know the reason why.
Oh, you do?
Because
Okay.
I read the Wikipedia.
Oh, you cheater. So, though Weekend Woman goes back to their like a light power pop comfort zone with like his buzzy guitars and cliche romantic lyrics, I liked the 60s style like bass lines like on that song, because it kind of reminded me of like the bands that our parents listened to like back in the day, like, you know, I would say like the Zombies or the Turtles or like the Pacemakers. Like, it sounded kind of like that older, like, you know, like vibing, like, you know, bass like lines. I was kind of like okay with
It's
that.
just like a slave to the bass.
I'm like Megan Traeger, man. I'm all about the bass. And if you had no idea that Weezer was influenced by the Beach Boys, they have a song on here dedicated and named after the band. And it's like kind of a reggae-esque, like a surf pop rock ditty about, surprise, surprise, the beach, the band, and their love for listening to that music during the summer. I was like, yawn. All right, the summer's great, dude. It's okay, man. But I don't know if it's 'cause the fact that the band's from California, but they are infatuated with that like season, you know.
I feel like that's a recent development in their discography, right?
Right, yeah.
All of a sudden, they're just
summer,
all
man.
about summer.
Yeah, and it's really good to release an album like that during the winter, you know. What do you got to say about this album? It's only 10 tracks, so there's not much to like really.
It was over
Take
quickly, and that was the best part of it, I think.
Are you like not into Weezer ever?
I like their earlier stuff. I honestly haven't really listened to anything they put out in the last 10 years. I thought they got kind of boring after a while.
Yeah, I did
stopped
too.
paying attention.
Yeah.
And then this album was, I want to say eye-opening, but that would give it too much credit. It was, I don't know. I guess the highest praise I can possibly give it is that it was inoffensive and forgettable.
All right. So, what was the thing you read about on Wikipedia? Why the lyrics are?
Well, once I read the Wikipedia, the entire album made sense to me because apparently they had this idea for a concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was essentially going to be darker and going to be like the Beach Boys meet the Clash, and then they just kind of were like, well, maybe we should just whatever.
Do what's easier.
Exactly. So apparently he, the singer, had a bunch of lyric fragments
Right.
in a notebook, and he had a bunch of riffs that he wasn't using, and so he just picked, like, cut and pasted songs together.
Yeah.
That's not a way to write an album.
Right. That was gonna be my complaint, but yeah, that's exactly my problem with this record. It's obviously it f***ing shows that these lyrics and these songs
Could not give a less
Yeah.
about this album.
Yeah, it just sounds like, well, I don't want to take the hard road. I'll just do this thing, anything instead. This is so difficult. I have writer's block. Well,
And I don't understand the point of this album because they just put an album out earlier. If you're on an album cycle, which they clearly are, why would you be like, we got to do a new album? It's gonna be fantastic, and we got a concept for it, and it's gonna blow people away. And then like you start on it, and they're like, and let's just put something out. Why don't you just quit?
Well,
Just don't do an album.
They already
Take some time and put some effort into it.
Maybe they already made a commitment. It's like, oh, down a record company's gonna be up our ass. We might as well just. Oh wait, I got these fragments. I'll put something together in an hour. Because it shows like songs like QB Blitz. He says like, I can't get anyone to do algebra with me. Then he's like, I gotta call my QB Blitz. It's like I can't figure out the relation between the two. But okay, whatever. And to top it off, this album was like produced by like Tobias like Gad and Josh Alexander helped him write lyrics, and they've been known to work with people like Demi Lovato, Fergie, and Beyonce.
And it shows.
Yeah, unfortunately, they only made some of this. They made the Weezer way too poppy for them and me as well.
I feel like this album was cut from the same cloth as Fergie.
Wow. Okay.
It's really it's just an album to sell albums. Like it doesn't really. There's no feeling behind it. It's just like, here's a bunch of songs. Eat up, you fucking swine.
Yeah. And I recall a time when we were like excited for a new Weezer album because they would release albums like every like 3 to 4 years. Now they're like gonna drop albums every compilations, deluxe editions, solo projects. It's just an abundance of disposable tracks. And I really unfortunately can't say really much about this album. It's like to say that you're not really missing out if you don't listen to this one. So my rating for this album, I'm going to get right to it, is you can skip this. It's not worth your time. What do you think, Drew?
This isn't the alt-rock / emo Weezer of the 90s or even the boring pop rock Weezer of the early aughts. This Weezer is confused and scared. This music world is changing at an unprecedented rate, and they're just trying to keep up. They're grasping at straws, hoping that anyone will dig the music they're putting out. They desperately want to be relevant, and it shows. Unfortunately, they fail miserably and come off as a vulgar caricature of popular music and their former selves. A shambling, terrifying golem of wasted potential, confusion, and reheated Beach Boys hooks. If Imagine Dragons is too edgy for you, but Taylor Swift is too saccharine for you, this is the perfect album. I was really on the fence with this. I'm gonna give it a skip it.
Wow.
I almost gave it a this.
Wow, you were that. What were you almost on that this for? You were that offended?
It's a garbage album. And the only thing that I could say about it that pushed it over the edge from a this to a skip this is that occasionally the songs were catchy. But then again, Gonorrhea is catchy too, and I wouldn't recommend that either. So
All right.
skip this album.
Yeah.
Even if it's on at a party, leave the fucking party. Like that's how bad this fucking album is.
Yeah, the thing I have a problem with River is if I want to compare him to like Buddy Holly, obviously it's safe to say he's really infatuated with the guy, like obviously because he wrote a fucking song about him, but also because you know how Buddy Holly was like churning out music left and right because he's like, oh, I'm gonna, I don't know how much time I have, I gotta put out music. You put out enough music, Rivers. You're good. You can stop now. Like
He
have
feels
some
like
breaks.
he feels like less of an auteur, more of just a guy that is going through the motions.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you think of the new Weezer album, if you liked it or hated it. And also tell us what you would rate it as well.